So story number one, we have Rabbit and Possum share a wife. I picked this story because it's just an interesting story, and also it gives an explanation of why the possum does what it does when it gets scared. Another one versus the why the possums tell his bear story. So the rabbit and the possum both wanted a wife, but no one would marry either one of them. They talked about it at great length and decided they would never get wives where they were. So they decided to go to the next settlement over and try there. They thought they would have better luck. So Rabbit had made a plan. He said, I'm the messenger for the council, and I will tell the people that I am bringing the orders that everyone must take a wife right now. Then we'll both get wives. The possum thought this was a fine plan, so they started walking to the next settlement over. The rabbit was much faster than the possum, so he naturally got there first. When he arrived, he waited outside until the animals noticed him, and they took him in to see what he had to say. When the chief came in to ask his business, the rabbit said he bought an important order from the council that everyone must get married right now. So the chief called all the animals together and shared the message from the council. Every animal took a mate at once, and even the rabbit got a wife. Well, along came Possum. He was much slower than the rabbit, of course, but when he got there, Rabbit said, oh, everyone had already had a mate, and Rabbit said, oh, sorry, y'all. And Rabbit felt really sorry for the possum. Well, he pretended to. And he said, you know what? I'm going to go to the next settlement over and tell them exactly what I just told this town, and I'm going to get you a wife. Possum was disappointed, but he said, okay, that'll be fine. I can agree to that. So Rabbit ran along very quickly, and Possum followed right after, close behind him. Possum wasn't going to miss out on another opportunity. He wanted a wife really bad. So when the rabbit got to the next town, he sent a very different message than what he told Possum he was going to say. Rabbit told everyone that there had been peace for too long. They were getting lazy. And the council had ordered that there must be a war at once, and it must happen right here, right now at the council house. So all the animals started fighting, and the rabbit took 4 leaps and got away right before the possum showed up. Everyone saw the possum and they jumped on him. The possum had not thought to bring his weapons to a wedding trip. He was supposed to be getting married after all, and he couldn't defend himself. The animals had nearly beaten the life out of him whenever he fell over and just pretended to be dead. Possum laid there and he waited for the opportunity to get away. And then when it showed itself, he ran. Possum may not have gotten a wife, but he did remember the lesson. Every time a hunter or trouble came close, he rolled over and pretended to be dead. And that is how Rabbit got a wife and Possum learned how to play dead. You know. The next story in the saga of the rabbit and the deer, it's how the deer got his horns. So in the beginning, the deer had no horns. He had a smooth head just like the doe. He was one of the fastest runners in the forest. The rabbit was fast, but he was also a really good jumper. Well, the animals wanted to see who was faster in a race, going the same length, the same amount of time. So they all got together. They made these great, beautiful horns and asked the deer and rabbit, do you want to race for these horns and see who's the fastest? Well, of course they wanted to race. They both wanted these big, beautiful horns. So the animals discussed it and figured out exactly what they were going to do. They found a path and they set the day and they set the race for the rabbit and the deer. And naturally, the first one to finish got the horns. So on that day of the race, the animals lined up to watch the deer and the rabbit. They put the horns right at the very start line, and they all started talking and chattering, and Rabbit stopped them. Rabbit said, I don't know where I'm at. I've never been here before. I need to run ahead and scout out the course. The animals thought about it and they said, okay, Rabbit, that's fair enough. You can do that. So they let Rabbit go along and they waited. They waited. And they waited. Now, the animals knew what kind of trickster the rabbit was. So they sent someone out to go and find him. Well, they sent someone out and he got out into the brush and he spotted Rabbit. And what was Rabbit doing? He was clearing brush. He was cheating. So the little animal that went to go see ran back to the other animals and said, you'll never believe what's going on. Rabbit is clearing brush. He's cheating. They were like, well, there's no way we can let a cheater win. So they waited for Rabbit. When he got back, they said, Rabbit, you've been clearing brush and cheating. And Rabbit denied it. He said, no, I'm not. I would never do that. I am not a cheater. And the animal said, well, okay, well, let's go see where you were at. They walked out into the brush, and sure enough, they saw what Rabbit had done. They saw where he had been cutting down brush, and they said, you will not win. A trickster has no right to win. And they automatically gave the race to the deer and gave him the horns. The deer was known from then on out as the best runner and has worn those horns ever since. The animals told Rabbit that he was so fond of cutting down brush that he could do that for a living. And so from this day on, he does. And that's how the deer got its horns, and the reason that the rabbit's always clearing some brush. So Rabbit was feeling pretty sour that he had lost this race. And he didn't win the horns, and he wanted to get back at deer for this. So not long after this race, the rabbit came up with a plan. He knew exactly what he was going to do to get his revenge on deer. So Rabbit stretched out a long grapevine across the path that he knew deer would be coming. And he nibbled a little bit of it right in the center. He tied it off and he waited. And then just a little while passed and he saw the deer coming down the path. He ran at that vine, jumped, bit, and snapped the vine in two. Deer said, dang, Rabbit, that's amazing. He said, you know what? I don't think you can do that again. The deer was like, you can't. Rabbit said, yes, I can. So he had some other vines waiting in the way. So he pulled another one across that he had nibbled the middle out of. And he went running at it, jumped, bit it, and it snapped in half. Deer said, well, if you can do it, I can do it. Because I'm the fastest in the land, and I have big horns, and anything you can do, I can do. Rabbit said, okay. So he grabbed another vine and pulled it across the path and tied it off. And he said, now, deer, all you have to do is take some steps back, run at it, jump, bite it, and we'll see. So the deer scooted back, started running at that vine, jumped up, tried to bite it, and he went flying backwards and landed head over hoof. And he sat there. He said, I can do this. I can do this. You did it. I can do it. So he kept going. Time after time after time, he'd run, jump, bite, and get thrown backwards. He was like, Rabbit, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Rabbit said, show me your teeth. I need to see your teeth. So the deer opened his mouth, and his teeth were long. They were long. They weren't sharp, but they were long, kind of like wolf's teeth. He said, no wonder you can't. Your teeth are blunt and they can't do anything. He said, let me sharpen them. I don't know, the deer said. You know, Rabbit's like, don't worry, I'll make them sharp and you'll be able to cut through anything. He said, okay. So he opened his mouth, and the rabbit started filing and started filing. And then after a while, deer said, man, Rabbit, this really hurts. You know, I don't know. And Rabbit said, no, 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 no. He said, I'm almost there. Finished up. He said, okay, they're good to go. Now you try it again. So the deer scooted back. He went running at that vine again, bit down, and went flying back head over hoof one more time. And you just saw the rabbit sitting over there laughing, saying, now you have paid for your horns. Ever since then, the deer's teeth are so blunt that he can't chew anything but grass and leaves.